All right, we're at Ohana HQ with artist Lise Lee. Lise, how you doing this afternoon?
I'm good.
Thanks so much for coming out to Ohana and working with us today. It's so nice to host you. I've really enjoyed getting to know you even better.
well, thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
So we are so excited to get to introduce you to our audience a little more and get to learn a little more about you and what you're up to these days.
Awesome.
So what drew you to play the ukulele? Did you play any other instruments before the uke?
Yeah, actually. So when I was probably around in elementary school, I was exposed to playing piano and drums, actually. And I remember growing up, I wasn't too fond of the piano. I was just like, oh, this is just like an instrument that I have to play. And I kind of had that mindset for a while. And then when I got to high school, I remember there was this distinct moment where my sister was actually listening to the Pandora radio station on the Hawaiian radio. And one of the songs that came up was called Blue Roses Falling by Jake Shimabukuro. And it was just a solo piece on the ukulele. And she showed me the song. She's like, hey, come here, listen to this. This is actually the ukulele just by itself. And I listened to it and I remember thinking like, whoa, there's no way you can actually sound like that. And sure enough, we just went on YouTube. We looked at all these like ukulele videos, and I think that's how I got started. And that's when I really started to appreciate music and finally appreciate piano and all that stuff.
It can be a little tough to appreciate piano whenever you're being somewhat forced to learn it, huh? What artist do you look up to or have influenced your playing style the most?
Yeah, so I want to say, like, for ukulele-wise, artists that have really inspired me to play, of course, was, one of them being Jake, but other than that, Chris Fushigami, Brittany Paiva, Taimani as well, and Herb Oda Jr., actually. They're just all great people. I've met all of them, and they're just really gracious and, very talented and good people to look up to.
I think it's been one of the most refreshing things for me within the ukulele community to just the warmth and the vibe. I feel like the artists are all really want to lift each other up and just create really good music and elevate the instrument.
Yeah, that's what I love about ukulele though, actually, because like no one is trying to be, necessarily better than anyone else. Everyone's trying to lift each other up, and I really like that kind of familial aspect because especially like with music or any kind of entertainment, you're probably used to hearing stories of people being very competitive and maybe not so welcoming, but that's what I really love about ukulele. There's no set bar of how good you can be, and there's no standard on like, just like welcoming people in, so I really love that.
You're one of the up-and-coming like young artists that everybody's got their eye on. What words of wisdom would you pass on to other young artists that would like to break into the world of ukulele playing?
Yeah, so I want to write a book on this. There's a lot of stuff I want to say. But if I could pick one little bit of words of wisdom, I would probably say, especially to maybe like younger players who are just starting to get into maybe contemporary stylings of ukulele, like maybe more fast-paced stuff, I would say maybe just slow down in the sense of just thinking about, the music that you want to play. I know that when I first started, I was very much into contemporary styles, so very fast-paced, flashy kind of bells and whistles kind of playing. And there's nothing wrong with that, I think it's really good to learn technique and, how to play. But the more I started playing, the more stories I wanted to tell, and the more melodic my music started to sound. And so I would just say maybe just slow down, and also if other older musicians have words of wisdom for you, I would say slow down and maybe take a moment and think about it, because they're just trying to help you. And I think that's what I really took away from doing music, was just listening to other people, like not only myself. Like when I started playing with my sister, I had to learn that I wasn't always right. And when I listened to her, she'd be like, she would just have suggestions, and listening to them really made me a better player.
From working with your sister and then moving into working as a solo act, has it been easier, harder? What are the biggest challenges, trying to branch out on your own from working in that environment where you were, working together and really, a team?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so actually, before we became a duo, I actually started off as a soloist. And so I was doing a couple of, events by myself, and I was playing a bunch of solo pieces. And then I actually started playing with my sister because it was kind of more just like a fun idea. I was like, oh, hey, I have a cool idea for a duet. Or, hey, I want to play this song, and it involves two people. Come and play with me. And I think that was really special because we really just clicked even more, because you think as sisters you're already close. We were brought even closer through music, and then we just started to play together, and then we're like, okay, now what do we call ourselves? Oh, okay, let's be the Lee sisters, because we're sisters. And then once we became a duo, we kind of did that for a while, for the majority of when I was in high school. And then when Emmy got her full-time career at Disney Imagineering, she went to Florida, and I became a soloist again. And I would say maybe the hardest part of that adjustment from going as a duet to a soloist wasn't maybe like just becoming a soloist, because I was already used to that. I think the biggest hurdle for me was just being able to show people that I could stand on my 2 feet again. It's really fun to play with another person, and I think there's a lot of chemistry that can go on. But it's much different when you're alone. You have to think about solo pieces by yourself. Not only that, and then could you make duets into solo pieces, right? So there's just different things you could think of, or like looping, right, using a pedal. So I think maybe the challenge was just to show people again that I could be by myself.
As far as you write a lot of your own music and are a great original artist, how do you go about writing music? How do you know when a piece is complete?
Okay, so I usually take inspiration from actually the experiences that I have with other people. I used to think that music was all about what am I feeling? What are my immediate emotions on something? And for me in particular, I would say a lot of the songs and a lot of the stories I tell involve just experiences with others. So for example, all the songs on our debut EP album, they're all about experiences that we've had with our really dear friends or people from Hawaii, and just experiences that have either touched us personally. I would say that what was the second part of the question?
When do you know that a piece of music that you've written is complete?
So I would say that I would be able to know when a piece is complete when I feel as if it's captured all of the emotions I want to portray. So I know that sounds kind of vague, but usually I think of a song kind of like a typical framework, like, okay, you have like a verse, a chorus, you do that again, and then you have a bridge, and maybe you end with another chorus or an outro. And, I might start off with that kind of skeleton, but then I think, okay, have I actually shown through the instrumental piece or whatever it is all of the feelings I've had through this experience? And I think once I feel satisfied with that, I know that a piece is done.
That's an awesome answer. As far as looking forward, do you have any festivals or gigs that you'd really like to book, or any artists that you'd really love to collaborate and work with?
Yeah, so as for festivals and events, those usually take place during the summer, although we are busy, for the good part of the year. Most of the Polynesian festivals, like Santa Fe Springs, Heritage of Aloha, there's Huntington Beach, the Ehu Lake Pier Festival, and and there's always NAM in January, but they're usually popping up. They're always on our Facebook page. But for other artists that I would ever want to collaborate with, that's a good question. I think kind of, like backtracking back to what we talked about before, I would really love to play like with Brittany Paiva, because sometimes we'll tag each other on memes on Facebook, and she loves puns just like me. So I feel like our sense of humor, we get along really well that way. I'm curious to see how musically we would get along. And aside from that, I'd also want to play, oddly enough, I would also want to play with Herb Hoda Jr., because Uncle Herb, he's so funny. Like, I don't know, I just love being around Uncle Herb. We're always messing around with each other at NAMM whenever I bump into him. But I really appreciate his low G style. I've been getting into that a lot more because I did start out as a high G player. I'm still playing high G, but I'm really appreciating the more melodic, kind of warmer sound of the low G.
Is there a particular style of music you'd like to explore more?
Yeah. So I would like to explore like the style of like indie, because I really love indie music. Aside from playing, like contemporary Hawaiian and, ukulele, I really love listening to kind of like the down-tempo indie style. And I'm curious to see how indie style would translate over to ukulele, because I have started to play like and make indie songs on guitar, but I'm thinking, ukulele is such a happy instrument. Not that I want to make it sad or anything, but I think that'd be like a cool combo, to do like kind of like a sad indie song on a happy ukulele, and we'll see how that turns out.
Yeah, just the little juxtaposition there would be really fun.
Yeah.
Do you have any festivals that you haven't played or attended that you would really like to, based on either the people that are running them or just the feedback that you've heard from attendees?
Yeah, so for festivals that I'd want to be a part of, we have been a part of several festivals out here in Southern California, but there are other festivals in other states, and also there's like the Ukulele Festival in Hawaii. We've been to it a bunch of times, but I feel like that would still be cool to go and be a part of that festival, because you just have ukulele everywhere, galore, all kinds of people. And aside from, just ukulele and Polynesian festivals, there's this one joke that my teacher, my AP US history teacher in high school, would tell me. I remember I played ukulele once at school, and she said, one day I want to see you opening at Coachella. And I thought, that's a good goal. I could try for Coachella one day. That's kind of like a pie in the sky for me.
I like that. You could open for Lizzo.
Oh, yeah. Well, maybe with my indie ukulele.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What works for you as far as working with Ohana, and what made working with Ohana a good fit for you? Yeah,
well, it's been a dream come true, really. I could write another book about this too. I love so many aspects of it. So I'll start from kind of like the beginning, when I first really heard about Ohana. I remember I would see Ohana around a lot. They're very present in California especially, and that's where a lot of the festivals are too. But I remember there was this one event with Uncle Kamaka from Sandwich Islands Network Radio. He had this one event at this restaurant. I forgot what it was called, but he called it Ohana Club Sundays, I believe. And I remember Lewis was there representing Ohana, and he came up to speak for a little bit, and he told us how he first started Ohana. And I remember his story was really touching to me, because he said that he wanted, he left his normal day job and asked his wife if he could pursue ukulele and like making music and spreading that, even though he didn't know how to play music that much. And I thought that was really beautiful and touching, and I'm thinking, wow, that's really nice. And I spoke to Lewis afterwards, and I just told him like that I really liked his message. And from there on, like, we would see each other, and I would see Ohana a lot everywhere. And just becoming an Ohana artist and finally getting to work with everyone here, it's been a dream come true, because everyone is so welcoming and so nice, and I just feel like it was so easy to become a part of like the family.
I feel like you have a lot of similar values, and you tend to support your community, and we just worked with you for a fundraiser at your mom's school, and you seem to really put a lot of that energy and excitement back into your community and back out there into the world. And I think that's really beautiful.
Oh, thank you.
So thank you so much for coming in
Yeah.
and chatting with us today, Lise. It was a dream for us. We can't wait to see what happens in 2020 and beyond with you. We're looking forward to it.
No, thank you for having me.